We always have the best. I am truly grateful. I'm truly grateful to see all of you on this beautiful, beloved Sunday. I gotta say thank you, Jessica. You are rocking it. You're rocking it. The disco ball. We got the art. We got everything. We got it going on. Yes. So welcome to Soul Center. We are, of course, part of the Agape movement. We are an affiliate of Agape International Spiritual Center. And what does that mean? For those of you who are new, you will, from time to time, we talk about the golden thread. The golden thread that unites all mystical teachings. In the New Thought tradition, we are an inclusive community, and we know that there is a mystical golden thread that unites all religions. If you move up beyond the dogmas and you move into the field of mysticism, where the mysteries and the secrets of life are, where the laws and the tenets of how to live a bliss, heaven on earth reside. And that is what we exploit. We are divine exploiters here at Soul Center. We get soul-centered through the acts of prayer and meditation. And I know that sometimes, people think, prayer and meditation is kind of like this solemn monk on the mount thing. But I'm telling you, you can get into your groove thing with prayer and meditation. You can get into your disco jam in meditation. Meditation and prayer brings you to life because it is the closest thing to eternal life that you will ever experience. And so we are here today, and the theme of the month is Dynamic Love. It is also Black History Month. And I have to say, one of my favorite mystics of all time, George Washington Carver. He's not only my favorite Black mystic, but he is one of the premier mystics of all. So just to give you the lasered version of our beloved George Washington Carver, somebody who just was not affected by the world of effects. He grew up at just the tail end of slavery, and he's coming out into a world where technically he should have been a little bothered by what was going on, but he wasn't bothered. He was imbued by the Spirit, and he became the man who talked with the flowers. That's what he was known as, because he was a mystic. He was a true modern-day mystic that was interested in science. He was interested in mystical science. So most of us know, if you read about him in college or in early days of your history teachings, you maybe know him more as a scientist, the Peanut Man, something like that. But he was a mystic, and he would sit and he would ask, he would commune with Spirit. And we know that the natural world, the reason nature is so incredible, I'm so grateful you're doing the hiking, Allison. The reason nature is so incredible because in the material world, in the world of things, nature is the closest connection to the divine in terms of how the codes of life express themselves. Nature gives us the secrets to how to live heaven on earth. And so he would sit and commune with the peanuts or the herbs or the flowers, and he would say, first, you go into a place of meditation, you go into a place of prayer, and then you commune. And we know that everything is energy, and everything is information encoded in the energy. So if you are a studier of sacred geometry, you know that there are codes inside the information that allow things to be things. And he would ask the flowers to reveal their secrets, and then he would journal them down, and he'd go into the lab, and lo and behold, the flower or the peanut was correct. Because God, through living, breathing, sentient beings, and even inanimate objects, is revealing the beauty of life. And so our job as divine emanations of the Most High, so we know that golden thread that unites all religions in the mystical sect, is about being able to understand the language of God. The language of God is being able to let the truth set you free, so that each one of us attunes and we listen. We're all here to have heaven on earth. We're all here to experience joy. We're here to experience joy at the highest level, and most of us are going through life, a lot of us are having a very mediocre experience. Or maybe in that mediocre experience, we're coming across some challenges. And challenges, for those of you who are familiar with astrology, sometimes challenges come across as things that are life lessons. Like as though the universe is trying to teach us something. Like, you really need to learn this. The universe isn't trying to teach us something. We're trying to teach ourselves something. We're trying to liberate ourselves. The mysteries and the secrets of all are ready to us as long as we would sit and be still and know that I am. And so in astrology, if you look at somebody's chart, there are particular things that kind of gives you like a little bit of a blueprint of what's going on. If you look at somebody's natal chart, and there's a mystical teaching. This falls under the language of the cosmos, the language of the planet and the stars. And all the ancient civilizations, from the Egyptians to the Mayans, they would study the stars because we know that there's no place that God is not. And there's no place that the truth can't reveal itself. Just as the truth can reveal itself from the peanut, the truth can reveal itself from the stars. And they knew that there's no randomness in the universe. There's no randomness in God. Things don't just happen for no reason. There's always a reason, and that reason is always to direct us and project us into the trajectory of bliss, grace, and beauty, but oftentimes we get in our own way and we limit that. So we want to become aware of the language of love. The theme of the month is dynamic love, and we want to become dynamically enamored with understanding the truth that would set us free. Because oftentimes we get enamored with the truth that won't set us free, the false truth, the lowercase t truth. We're looking for the capital T truth that will set us free. And so the topic for today is to, what is the topic for today? The topic for today is don't make do, make over. We want to have a makeover. We want to have an internal makeover. Don't you I don't know, I love a good makeover show. Don't you like a good makeover? Somebody comes in and they're looking all drab and tattered and their hair is a mess and they're whatever. And then, all the experts come in and then the next thing you know, they're all like, we're like, ooh, all right. Got it going on. But we're not talking about an external makeover. We're talking about an internal makeover. You do an internal makeover and your external world will change. And so if you really want to experience, because why do people sometimes get a makeover? Because they want to feel better. They want to, start to, truly you would want the inner light of your own beingness to reflect itself out. So you're here today, and I'm going to ask y'all to join me to have an internal, spiritual, divine, holy makeover of your own beingness and being able to be like George Washington Carver. So George Washington Carver, the mystic, he was unaffected by what was going on at the time in terms of, he didn't let anything get him down. He had a disability that disabled him from participating in certain aspects of life, of running around and things like that. So he had to be kind of still, but that didn't bother him. It also didn't bother him, not that it didn't bother that he didn't care, but it didn't diminish him in any way as we're coming out of slavery. And he was just like, life is my oyster. I can proceed with everything. And he actually defied so many things that were going on at the time. He got invited into circles that technically shouldn't have happened back in that day. He was invited by some of the premier people of the world that would bring him into, this was back in a time of our history, which, I'm not too proud of. I don't think anybody should be too proud of, but when a black man wouldn't be invited into certain things, but he was, because he didn't let the world of effects dictate how he was going to live the world. He did not have horizontal vision. I want to kind of back up a little bit and just explain how some of the dynamics of life work. We have the ability to interpret the truth. Our job is to interpret the truth about what's going on. The truth does not get revealed to us from the world and then back to us. Because if we misinterpret what we see out here, we're going to start to make judgments and come up with beliefs. And we know that beliefs are determinant as to what we're going to experience. That's part of the human paradigm. The human paradigm is what you believe is what you'll perceive. We've all heard of that. And so you start to develop your belief system. So he took great care to make sure that his belief system was held in a pristine vibration of the Most High. And I'm encouraging all of us to make sure that you take your belief system under beautiful care and make sure that you don't adopt any beliefs that are going to be contrary to your experience of love and joy. And as a result of not being enamored, as a result of him using vertical vision. Vertical vision means I commune with spirit and I allow myself to be informed and I inform the world of effects of how I'm going to experience, not the world of effects informing me. So I'm moving and I'm using the talent and the gift of my imagination. Your imagination is a vehicle within our beingness that can allow ourselves, if our imagination is pointed to God, to the divine, we take and we go into a vertical vision. A vertical vision means that we attune to the divine and we allow our imagination to show us the possibilities, the infinite benevolent possibilities available to us. Show me the mysteries, show me the secrets, show me the good, show me the truth. I align my vision vertically and I allow my imagination to show me what is true and what is right. Or I can align my imagination and I can go it horizontally and I can look out into the world of effects. And I can see, oh my goodness, there's this thing going on in politics, and there's these people over here, and there's those people over here, and there's Democrats, and there's Republicans, and there's the conditions, and there's the coronavirus, and oh my God. And I can let the world of effects start to affect me. And I am supposed to affect the world of effects. I am the effect on the world. I am the cause on the world. Now that can sound like a pretty simple idea. And in the beginning stages, as we become aware of that idea, we become aware of the law of attraction. We know that there are principles and laws that govern the universe. The universe is a very orderly place. It operates in a very personal and a very impersonal way. The laws and the principles are impersonal. They mean they are no respecter of persons. The laws are the laws. The law of attraction is the law of attraction. The law of emergence, the law of radiance, the law of creation, those are all laws that work regardless of what you do. You may use them inappropriately and incorrectly and end up not being happy about it, but if you understand the language, if you understand the language of God, which means we gotta get still. We gotta be still and know that I am. That means we're gonna go into communion, and I'm gonna suggest in charge, because some people, you've heard me say it before, but some people are like, oh, I don't have time to meditate. I gotta go socialize. I gotta go gossip. I gotta go talk about this and talk about that. I gotta be affected by the world of effects instead of affecting the world of effects. I gotta get lost in the Maya of the illusion. And as you watch The Matrix, whenever this comes to me, pay attention, because it's just wonderful how they allow how to transcend the world of illusion. To transcend the world of illusion, you really have to fortify the muscles and experience a divine makeover. And I'd like to tell you that this divine makeover is going to happen like once. You're going to be made over, and then you're going to experience heaven on earth. And it's possible, it's in the realm of possibility, but you're going to have to be really disciplined. You're going to have to be really disciplined. And I'll tell you, the win-win part about it is, when you are disciplined, when you do surrender, which is inevitable because we're all going to surrender at some point, it's bliss, it's nirvana, it is heaven on earth. And so we want to align with that. We want to make and choose a right. We want to choose a right so that we are choosing that which brings us bliss. And as I was talking about a few weeks ago when I was here, there's a part where we want to reflect on the day. So I happened to have a client who was going through a really rough time, and she was talking to me about a friend of hers, and they were going to go on a cruise. And this friend of hers got all paranoid about the coronavirus. And she's like, oh my God, we're gonna have to cancel the cruise because we're gonna get the coronavirus, and then we're gonna get sick, and it was really frustrating because her energy was now affecting her energy, and she was getting all upset, and I was like, well, we gotta hold on a second. And so there is a mystical aspect of life. We've all heard of 6 degrees of separation, where there are some degrees of separation in our life. And one of the things that we want to make sure that we do in our makeover is that we always make sure that we center down and we become aware as we review our day of what needs to be cleaned up and what needs to be blessed, and not to get sucked into the world of effects. And that takes a little bit of strengthening of your spiritual muscles. That means that we have to really listen. So the degrees of separation are, the first degree of separation is that we think we're separate from God, and things within our own beingness are happening to us. So as Reverend Michael would talk to, that's kind of the first level of conscious evolution, where we are in victim consciousness. So something's happening directly to me. So maybe I'm having a physical challenge, or maybe I'm having a monetary challenge, or maybe I'm having a relationship challenge, or something of that nature. It's kind of the first degree of separation. And we know, in our spiritual teachings, we know the principles. God is good, God is love, God is magnificent, omnipotent, omniamorous, omnipresent, and we are born in the image and likeness of God. We know that as a truth We know that that is a mystical truth that is seeking to express itself, but it needs to seek and express itself as an experience in and through and as you. Fourth level of consciousness, as me consciousness. And so we're moving through and we're matriculating through the paradigm, and we're starting to become aware of these laws and these principles, and then we are to embody them. And that's part of the makeover. And the makeover is going to happen over and over and over again. We're going to sit down and we're going to be made over, and the sooner you surrender to the makeover, the faster it's going to transmute within your beingness, your emergence into your true self, so that you can go from healing things and a little bit of creation to just creating things. Because we know that part of our evolutionary, part of why we are here is to create and to have experiences. And if you had no issues, you would just be creating. But if you have issues, then you're going to heal the issues and you're going to create. And so we come back to divine right seeing and divine right interpretation, and we put on our George Washington Carver hat and we allow ourselves to commune with what is the truth. What is the truth that's seeking to reveal itself? What is the secret? What is the mystery that's seeking to reveal itself? So we've got this first degree of separation, and then we have a second degree of separation. The second degree of separation is somebody close to me maybe they're going through something and I'm not going through it. They're having a prosperity challenge. They're having a relationship challenge. They're having a health challenge. So what is the significance to me? If there's somebody very close to me, then it's going to impact me, and that's the second degree of separation. And what do I do? Because one of the things, as we were talking about several weeks ago, as we reflect over our day and we clean up the day, you reflect and you allow yourself to look back over the day. I look back over Saturday, yesterday, and I look back from the morning, from the moment I woke up to the moment I went to bed and laid my head down. Where did I deflect the possible, the infinite, eternal, brilliant, benevolent possibility of God? And I go back and I clean it up. And then we look at one of the other reflections, and so this person who's in my life is reflecting something to me, and there's no randomness in the universe. There's nothing random at all. Why am I being exposed to their issues? What am I supposed to do? And I'll tell you what you're not supposed to do. You're not supposed to go into lowercase c compassion and be like, oh, that's too bad. I'm so sorry. And be kind of like maybe hopeless or try to be empathetic in a particular way. We want to move into capital C compassion, and we want to hold the space for them. And there's two aspects that are going on. One, I'm going to see their divine nature. I'm going to see their divine nature, and I'm going to know that they are not the illness. They are not the poverty. They are not the challenge in the relationship. No, they are not any of that. And this is the second degree of separation, that we're going to go ahead and we're going to stand in our divine nature. And when we know the law of attraction, what goes around comes around, what I put out comes back to me. So to bless them and to hold them in the space, even if they're complaining. Even if they're complaining, we know that complaining is one of the lowest vibrational frequencies of energy that we can do, that can take us into fear, it can take us into lack, it can take us into depression, it can take us into irritation or resentment. And just remembering that any of those feelings, irritation, guilt, shame, resentment, any of those feelings they're built into the system. This is where God is good really starts to show itself. Because when we have those feelings, those are alarm bells saying, something's off, something needs your attention, something needs to be brought into divine light. So if but now oftentimes we get sucked in, I feel resentful, and then I start to develop a belief around it, and then I start to label something, and then I start to make that person. So maybe I'm like, oh, well, so-and-so, they're just always, they're such a hypochondriac, they're such a worrywart, they're such a this, they're such a that. No, we're not going to go there. We're going to know their divine self. Third degree of separation is something else is happening. In this case, it was, so my client's telling me about their friend who's telling them about the coronavirus because they heard on the news that there was a ship and they were in quarantine and they didn't want to be in quarantine even though the ship was nowhere near the vicinity of where these things are happening, and they're going to cancel the thing. So she's telling me this. And so my job is also to hold the space for this person and to hold for the highest and greatest revelation of truth. And you want to sit with it and reflect, what does this mean to me? Why is this being brought into my awareness? You want to be cognizant In your awareness, what is this? I want to be aware of what's in your awareness. You want to move into the observer, you want to go into the witness mode. Why is this being brought into my awareness? And this is what George Washington Carver would do. He would sit and be still, and he would know what it is that is being brought into his awareness so that he could move into the truth, into the absolute truth that is seeking to reveal itself. And the truth is never going to be, oh, it's the end of days, oh, I'm not supposed to be prosperous, oh, I'm going to die, oh, whatever. We know that's not the truth. So we know that, of course, we're all going to transition at some point. But transition is a mystical experience. Transition is just as amazing as coming into the world and being born. That is, we've framed it in a lot of cultures as that it's this sad, horrible thing, and that there's loss, etc. And I get it. Recently as we lost Kobe and all the other people on the helicopter, yeah, there was a little bit of sadness that kind of comes up because we feel like there's a loss. But we know the truth is there's no real loss. There's the emotions that are coming up that are attached to the false ideas and the false beliefs. And yeah, we would like somebody to stay and be here with us for a little bit longer and have more joyous things. But there is something that is seeking to reveal itself for everyone. And so as a fourth degree of separation, something that's happening out in the world that's in like the news. Maybe I don't have a direct connection. It's not even somebody who's a friend of somebody. It's somebody that's kind of out there. And of course, all of this leads back to Kevin Bacon, right? No, that's not where it leads to. This all leads back to a divine awareness. Why am I seeing whatever it is? And as Reverend Michael always says, you don't want to watch the news unless you're ready to pray. You want to be able to pray. You want to exercise your muscles so that you don't slip into doubt, worry, fear consciousness, because then I'm extending that out into the field. And we don't want to put that into the field. What we want to put into the field is divine cooperation, people getting along. Years ago, as I was going through ministerial school, we had to take a class called diversity, where we would study all of the different peoples and all of the different cultures around the world. And it was fascinating. And one person in the class, very beautifully and very innocently, was like, oh, I kind of see myself as colorblind. I don't see color or race. I just see the divine emanation of light before me. And then one of the other people in the class got very upset. And they were upset, like, what do you mean you're colorblind? And it's like, so what they were responding to was, and this is a nice point, that we all came here, whatever race, whatever religion, whatever gender, whatever expression of God, we came here, it's like going to a costume party. And when you go to a costume party, sometimes you want people to be like, hey, groovy costume, I like what you got going on, you're rocking that really well. And so what they were saying was to appreciate the culture. So if we take the best of both worlds, where we use the phrase colorblind, where it's like, yes, I do want to see your divine nature, but I also want to see you, your personality, but not the personality that's affected by your trauma body, but I want to see the beauty, when we dress up in certain things and we do certain things, and we want to bring out the best, because oftentimes those things are associated with our purpose. Our purpose is meshed in with how we choose to express things, how we choose to be and look in the world. Now, again, I know sometimes we have things where we dumb it down or we numb it down or we don't actually step into it, and so we have kind of a mediocre version or vision of our beingness. But I'm talking about really being able to appreciate both, where you can see the world and you can see what's going on, but you're not sucked into the world. And so that you're participating in divine right seeing. You want to be able to see and allow the soul or the Holy Spirit of your beingness to interpret what you see, which takes place in the reflection. So as I reflect over the day, not only and we know in our teachings in the quantum field, we know that everything's happening at the same time. So yesterday is not actually done. And the one thing that will make sure that yesterday is not done is if you keep an energetic attachment to it. If I have an energetic attachment, resentment, guilt, shame, anger, frustration, if I keep an energetic attachment, then I am for sure going to thwart the divine experience of being in the eternal, being in the world but not of the world, because I'm going to love that past stuff with me, and then I'm going to project it into the future. And we don't want to do that. So that's why we reflect, so that we don't take any of the baggage that we don't want to take forward. We want to make sure that we participate in our own spiritual evolution by becoming aware of what's in our awareness, the degrees of separation, and nothing is outside of that. So something that's like, oh, it's happening over in China, the coronavirus, well, it doesn't really have a lot to do with me. Well, if it came into your awareness, you don't want to participate in spiritual malpractice. Spiritual malpractice would be that something comes into your awareness and you don't hold it in a high vibration. We want to hold it in a high vibration. So me and this person that I was talking to about the coronavirus, she and her friend I'm like, okay, and she sucked her into the low vibration, and then she started getting paranoid, and then she's asking me for advice, like, well, what do you think? Should we go on the cruise? Are we gonna get the virus? And I was like, hold on, let's just stop a moment here. We gotta turn within and see what's going on, and we're gonna stop and we're gonna bless your friend, and we're gonna bless you, and we're gonna get centered, and we're not gonna let fear be what motivates us. Fear is not to be what motivates you, because fear is oftentimes going to take you. We don't want to let that inform our choice. Free will and free choice ought to be informed by the truth of God that sets us free. So we want to get centered and make sure that we're not participating in activities or in habits or in excuses. We want to be very mindful of what comes into our awareness, and we want to become very mindful of our excuses. And as Ernest Holmes says, if you do not learn to control your thought will control you. And as somebody else, who else did I have here? I thought it was really good. George Washington Carver, of course. 99% of failures come from people who have the habit of making excuses. 99% of failure comes from people with the habit of making excuses. And sometimes excuses, they show up in the little nittiest, grittiest, little hiding, little trickster, little ways of showing up, like, oh, well, so-and-so is this way or so-and-so is that way. Well, that's their personality. And my charge to you is that we always enter into life as though you are meeting somebody's soul. You are coming and you are allowing yourself, and I want you to look for their divinity. That's what practitioners of truth do. We see beyond the story, we see beyond the condition, we see beyond the situation and the circumstance, and we're looking for the divine you. Now, from a scientific perspective, if you look at your 12-strand DNA, so you've got 6 pairs of 12-strand DNA, and each one of those controls a different aspect, and each one of those is connected to the cellular memory of your beingness. And your 12-strand DNA and your cellular memory, which we know by the advent of cellular biologist Bruce Lipton and epigenetics, that the environment is what influences our cellular memory and our DNA. And your DNA is not determinative, and your cells are not determinative. You get to reprogram and restructure them. Now, that part can take some work, but the other part is that the perfect blueprint of your 12-strand DNA, the perfect blueprint of your cellular memory, exists within your beingness right now. That already exists, and we know, as epigenetics should state, that you have a cell that has the perfect blueprint. Let's just take the cells of the eyes. The eyes, the perfect blueprint of perfect vision, even better than 20/20 vision, that allow these eyes to attune to this eye, so that when you look out here, you see beyond. You get to see what the infants, the babies, when they're born, when they're going like this, because they can still see. The veil is so thin, they can see the physical and the non-physical. They see both sides of the veil. And oftentimes when somebody is transitioning, the same thing happens. If you allow yourself to be malleable at times of transition, and I'm going to charge us all, I'm not asking anybody to transition anytime soon, but when you do transition, let's let it be a mystical experience. Let's let it be amazing. Let's let the veil thin so much that you feel the grace of God and you're not afraid. You're just like, and you can feel the ancestors, and you can feel the beauty of light with you, and you know you're going on to your great next adventure. That's the truth of what's happening, so why not surrender to it? So the charge is that you are going to choose to see, and there's that perfect blueprint in your 12-strand DNA, that's that perfect blueprint of your cellular memory. And so when things come along, it's like it's just a little veil of energy that comes over the cell, it comes over the gene, it comes over the DNA, and it creates a filter. And now all of a sudden that perfect blueprint isn't expressing as much and as well as it could have been because there's a filter on top of it, and it's making me think that the coronavirus is going to get me, and it's making me think that those people are nasty, and it's making me think that I got to win the lottery and that's the way I'm going to be happy. And it's like, no, what's going to make you happy is the joy. What's going to make you happy is knowing God is your infinite source and your infinite supply. That's what's going to truly set you on fire and let you do your disco groove. And so you're going to get into the groove and you're going to let it move and move your beingness. That is what we want to do. So I am charging you to agree with me because we know that agreements are everything in the human realm. The agreement is that we, choose right here, right now, to have divine right perception. So I'm going to ask you to repeat after me. I always refer to and use divine right perception in all situations.
I always refer to
and use divine right perception in all situations. I allow myself to see with the inner eye.
I allow myself to see with the inner eye.
I allow myself to hear with the inner ear.
I allow myself to hear with the inner ear.
And I decipher with my divine sensorium.
And I decipher with my divine sensorium.
And I let inspiration and enthusiasm to be the only thing that motivates me. So we know, we're done with that part. We know that when you allow inspiration and enthusiasm, which are to be inspirited by the Holy Spirit of God, which are to be enthusiated by God, that is when you start to choose a right. That is when we surrender into a field. And it takes a choice, because oftentimes we choose to, no, today I'm going to let fear work through all of my choices. It's going to influence all my choices. I'm going to not go on the cruise because I don't want to get the virus. I'm not going to do this because so-and-so is going to be there and they're going to be nasty. And I'm going to let those things. How do you want to know so-and-so? I want you, and this was the other part when I was working with her, I said, how do you want to know so-and-so? Because not only did we have to get over the part where we're getting rid of the fear of the virus, etc. And I'm not asking anybody to be foolish. One of the other things you want to be aware of is that if you are not at the place in your spiritual evolution where you can hold with absolute confidence something like, if I said I want you to walk on the tightrope without a safety net below. If you know that you're not ready to do that, now we know in a spiritual evolution, an evolved soul would be able to get up there and do it and not worry. But you have to know when you're ready for something. So you might not be ready for it, but you'll know that the choice at that particular time is to become ready for it, to be ready, to let Spirit evolve you. So we're going to enjoy where we are, and then we're going to have our spiritual makeover, and it's going to lift us, and then we're going to enjoy that part of our evolution, and then we're going to have a spiritual makeover, and it's going to lift us, and then we're going to enjoy that evolution, and we're going to enjoy it for a little while, and then we're going to have it lift us even more. That's the journey to wholeness. That's the evolution of our soul. And we're going to connect with the wholeness that is the perfect expression of the divine blueprint of our own beingness, which you carry with you right now. You've never not had it. You always have it as it pertains to the physical world. So with that all being said, we all agree that we're going to ground heaven on earth. We are going to allow love and truth to be that which guides us and directs us. We're going to allow the divine Holy Spirit of our own soul to unite us and connect us. And we are going to extend blessings on everything and everyone. Yes?
Yes.
All right. With that being said, we're going to turn within and move into the prayer field. How good it is to just take a moment and to know that as we turn our hearts, our bodies, our minds, our souls to the light of God, to the love of God, to our own divinity that has always been there and has never forsaken us, that the brilliance beyond our wildest dreams of the energy that created all life, that created every organ, every muscle, every bone, every tissue, every plant, every flower, every tree, every fragrance, is backed by the holy light of God. We open to that. We know that the perfect blueprint when we come into the material world resides right where we are, physically, emotionally, mentally, karmically. And we have all chosen today to be in alignment, divine right alignment with divine right perception, to see aright and to speak aright.
We are impeccable with our word, as Don Miguel Ruiz would say. Impeccable with our word means we allow the Holy Spirit to guide our speech. And it is the energy of the soul. As we surrender into this, the real us emerges, that which is born in the image and likeness of God. And there is no efforting here. There is only bliss and grace and beauty. And so as we honor the mystics that have come before us, as we honor our beloved George Washington Carver, as we honor all of those in our lives, we take a moment, and I invite you to bring to mind somebody in your life that you would like to extend a blessing to, somebody who might be going through a hardship. Bring them into your heart and into your mind. It could be one person, it could be 3 or 10, it could be a group or a region. Just bring them into your mind, and we choose right now to bestow blessings of wellness and prosperity and joy and authentic holy living into, through, and as their lives. We see them as divine emanations of the Most High. This is what we hold. We take a moment and we allow the energy of redemption and purification to go before us and behind us to make the crooked path straight. We allow ourselves and our lives to be so purified and so up-leveled and so uplifted in every way, shape, and form. I am truly grateful in this moment to know that it is God's good pleasure to bring forward the kingdom of heaven and to anchor it specifically and intimately as our lives. It is from this place of deep and abiding devotional appreciation and surrender, surrendering to glory to greater glory, good to greater good, love to more love, wellness to more wellness, cooperation to more cooperation, for cooperation is the very nature of life. We open to that, and we allow God's grace, bliss, beauty to have its way. To have its way to, through, and as our beingness right here, right now. We claim it so. We allow it to be so. We ground it so. We say, and so it is.
So it is.
Amen.
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 Ashe.
Ashe.
Shalom.
Shalom.
Hotep.
Hotep.
And hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
For the ushers to come forward. And as the ushers are coming forward, I'm just going to take a moment to address our streaming audience and invite you to go to soulcenteroc.com. And when you get on our website, if you could go to the donate, we are a donation-based community. We thrive and we live off of donations. And so we invite you all to go to our website, or you can actually text to donate anytime. You can text to donate to area code 669-342-2157. We appreciate your donations that are helping to thrive our community with our classes. And I'm just going to tell you all, next week you'll get the announcement that our principled and prayerful living class is starting at the end of March. And so just mark your calendars. It's part of the chaplaincy program, and it's just part of living life from magnificence. So I'm expecting to see a great crowd in our principled and prayerful living class. With that being said, thank you, ushers.